He barely had time to raise his arms before it hit him. The impact drove him backwards into a shelf, cans exploding around them, metal clattering across the tiles. Pain flared along his spine as the air punched out of his lungs. The infected clawed at his chest, fingers hooking into fabric, dragging itself closer. Axel brought his forearm up under its jaw, muscles screaming as he shoved. He felt something crunch, but it didn't slow. It snapped wildly, teeth flashing inches from his face. "Get off me," he growled. He slammed his knee upward, hard. The blow landed, but the infected barely reacted. Instead, it lunged sideways and sank its teeth into his shoulder. The pain was immediate and white-hot. Axel screamed. Teeth tore through fabric and skin. He felt the bite sink, pressure and tearing and heat all at once. Panic surged through him so violently it drowned out everything else. He smashed his elbow down again and again into the side of its head, rage and terror blurring together. On the fourth blow, it loosened. He shoved it away and stumbled back, gasping, clutching his shoulder. Blood soaked through his sleeve, warm against cold skin. The infected came again. Axel snatched the crowbar from where it had fallen and swung with everything he had left. The impact was brutal. Bone shattered. The creature collapsed in a heap, twitching violently. Axel didn't stop. He brought the crowbar down again, and again, until there was nothing left to move. When it was over, the silence crashed in around him. Axel stood there swaying, crowbar slipping from his fingers. His glasses were still on his face. The world was sharp, horribly sharp. It bit me. The thought landed slowly, sinking deep. He looked down at his shoulder. The wound was unmistakable. Teeth marks, broken skin, blood still seeping through his fingers as he pressed down instinctively. "No," he whispered. "No, no, no." His breathing spiraled out of control. Each breath came faster than the last, shallow and useless. His heart raced so hard it hurt. His vision tunneled slightly, edges darkening. This is how it ends. He'd always imagined the apocalypse with him standing strong beside his family, protecting them, teaching his eldest how to fight, carrying his youngest on his shoulders through quiet streets. Not like this, not alone, not on a shop floor miles from home. His hands shook violently as he tried to wrap the wound, pulling fabric tight, desperate. The headache behind his eyes surged, a deep, crushing pressure now. The world tilted. They needed me. His legs buckled. Axel slid down the shelf until he was sitting on the floor, then slumped sideways, back pressed against cold tiles. Rainwater crept in beneath the door, pooling around his boots. His thoughts fractured, drifting. His girlfriend's voice, his 19-year-old's laugh, the weight of his baby asleep against his chest. "I'm sorry," he whispered, tears mixing with rain and blood. "I tried." The room dimmed. The last thing he felt was the cold. Then even that slipped away. Chapter 3. The shed consciousness returned slowly, like something reluctant. At first, there was only sensation. Cold pressed against Axel's back, seeping through fabric, through skin, into bone. Not the sharp cold of rain or wind, but a damp, clinging chill that felt alive somehow, as though it had been waiting for him. The smell came next, earthy and sour. Rotting wood, old soil, rust. Something faintly sweet beneath it all that made his stomach turn. He tried to breathe deeply. Pain answered. It bloomed across his shoulder in a hot, throbbing wave that forced a sound from his throat before he could stop it. The noise echoed strangely, swallowed quickly by the close air around him. Axel froze. He lay still, eyes closed, heart beginning to hammer as fragments of memory tried and failed to arrange themselves into something coherent. Rain, running, teeth, blood, the certainty of an ending. I shouldn't be awake. That thought settled heavily in his mind. He opened his eyes. Light flickered weakly in front of him, orange and unstable. A candle. Just one, by the look of it. The flame trembled with every unseen movement of air, throwing shadows that crawled across rough wooden walls. The space was small, too small to stretch out properly. The ceiling sloped downward, beams dark with age and moisture. A shed. The word came unbidden. A garden shed, maybe. The kind people forgot about. The kind that smelled like neglect. Axel tried to move. A sharp jolt of panic shot through him as resistance answered the attempt. His wrists were bound behind his back, rope biting into skin already raw and sensitive. His ankles were tied too, pulled close enough together to make shifting his weight awkward and painful. His breath quickened. "Hello?" His voice came out hoarse, barely more than a rasp. The shed did not answer. The candle sat on an upturned crate a few feet away. Wax had dripped down its sides in thick, uneven trails, hardened and dull. Someone had placed it there deliberately. Someone had wanted light, but not much of it. Axel swallowed. His throat was dry, each movement scraping. His glasses were still on his face. That detail anchored him briefly. The lenses were smudged, but intact. Through them, the world was painfully clear. Every splinter in the wood, every dark stain on the floor, every bead of moisture clinging to the walls where condensation gathered and slid downward in slow trails. His shoulder throbbed again, insistently. He shifted carefully this time, testing his body in fragments. Legs sore, back stiff. His arms burned where they were forced behind him. The wound, the bite, flared with renewed intensity as the movement tugged at it. It had been cleaned. That much he could tell immediately. The area was wrapped, pressure firm and methodical. The pain was deep and angry, but not bleeding freely. Whoever had done this knew enough to stop him from dying outright. The thought was not comforting. His head ached dully, pressure building behind his eyes. Not the blinding agony from before, but something heavier, lingering, like the echo of a blow. He blinked slowly, grounding himself in the rhythm of the candle flame. How long? Time meant nothing here. There was no window, no sound of wind, no birds, just the faint creak of wood as it cooled, the quiet drip of moisture somewhere nearby. Axel's thoughts spiraled, then snagged. Why am I tied? Fear crept in slowly, insidiously, not the explosive terror of the fight. This was worse. This was the kind that settled in your chest and made breathing feel like work. He tested the ropes again, carefully. They were tight, rough fiber, not new. His wrists were already chafing, skin tender and damp. Struggling harder would only make it worse. He stopped himself, forcing his breathing to slow. His body felt heavy, exhausted beyond anything he could remember. Each heartbeat seemed to echo inside his skull, measured and loud. The shed felt smaller the longer he looked at it. Tools hung from hooks along one wall, rusted spades, a broken rake, lengths of wire coiled like sleeping snakes. A shelf sagged under the weight of old paint tins and glass jars clouded with age. The floor beneath him was bare earth in places, cold and uneven. This wasn't somewhere people came often, which meant someone had brought him here. His shoulder pulsed again, a reminder that refused to be ignored. Beneath the bandage, heat radiated outward, deep and unsettling. He imagined the wound without seeing it, teeth marks, torn flesh, infection creeping invisibly through his blood. His stomach churned. Am I changing? The question lodged itself firmly in his mind. He waited for something, anything, to feel different. Rage, hunger, a wrongness inside him, but all he felt was pain, fear, fatigue so deep it bordered on surrender. A sound made him tense. Not footsteps, not voices, just the candle sputtering softly. Axel closed his eyes briefly, then opened them again, forcing himself to stay awake. If this was it, if this was where he ended, he wanted to be conscious for as long as he could manage. His family drifted into his thoughts unbidden. His girlfriend's face, half smiling in the kitchen light. His eldest, grown too fast. His baby, warm and impossibly small. A tight ache formed behind his ribs. "I'm still here," he whispered, unsure who he was trying to convince. The candle flickered. The shadows shifted. Pain came roaring back as Axel tried to move. Not the distant, manageable ache he'd been cataloguing, but something sharp and immediate, like a blade dragged through muscle that had already been torn once before. His shoulder screamed in protest as the ropes bit deeper into his wrists, fibers grinding into raw skin. A sound tore out of him before he could stop it. Not a word, a broken, involuntary cry. It echoed in the shed, too loud, too alive. Axel froze the instant it left his throat. Silence followed, thick and waiting. Then came the sound. Footsteps, not hurried, not purposeful. A dragging, uneven scrape just beyond the thin wooden wall. Something brushed against the shed from the outside, fingertips or nails, raking lazily along warped planks. Axel's pulse slammed into his ears. "No," he breathed, barely audible. "No, no." A wet sound followed, a gurgle. Close now, too close. The door shuddered as weight leaned against it. Once, twice. The latch rattled. The smell arrived before the creature did. It seeped in through gaps in the wood, thick, sour, unmistakable. Rotting meat left too long in summer heat. Old blood. Waste. Something sweet and cloying beneath it all that made Axel gag. The door creaked open. The candlelight stretched outward, spilling into the narrow gap, and something stepped into it.